What's up, brother?
We're having fun.
I'm loving this. Hi, Houston.
That's funny. I was listening to the song right now when they're playing, and my first thing is Hey Arnold like the Seinfeld of children's TV? What do you guys think about that? Obviously,
I like to think so.
You like to think so?
I'm gonna go with yeah.
One of the greatest shows ever.
Yeah.
Is that what Seinfeld is for people? Mr. Craig, what was the inspiration? What brought Hey Arnold to us?
I had made an Arnold short. I came to LA to make the penny cartoons for Pee-wee's Playhouse. Can I hear a shout out for
Pee-wee's Playhouse? Oh, they're too young.
I mean, it was a long time ago. And I immediately was unemployed, so I made the first little clay Arnold short. And I got a job on Rugrats, I think because of that Arnold short.
And it was clay?
Yeah.
Oh, it was claymation?
Yeah, Klasky and Chupo, Gabor Chupo was very hip, and he liked my weird little clay short. And then they hired me to be the story editor on Rugrats. And that introduced me to everybody at Nickelodeon, and that probably led to the opportunity to pitch it as a show, and it developed from there.
That's awesome. I gotta ask, like, why football head?
I think it was because Arnold was clay at first, and in the penny style, which was flat on glass, and I just was cutting out shapes. I was like, the Arnold shape of the football and the cylinder, kind of like long, tall look of Gerald's hair, were because they started in clay.
That's awesome.
Look, I'm learning things now that I have never known either. This is incredible.
You got to hang around with us, man.
Yeah.
Was your original intention for it to be claymation for the whole thing?
No. When I pitched Arnold to Mary Harrington at Nickelodeon, she said, "Do you want him to stay clay?" And I said, "No, probably not. I bet it'd be easier if we stuck with 2D."
That's awesome. So, obviously you're really involved with the creation and you created, obviously. But Lane, what did you bring to Hey Arnold? Like, is there any part of Lane that's in Arnold?
Yeah, I think so. I think as a kid, when I was 12 years old, I feel like we had a very similar demeanor. I was pretty down to earth, pretty low key, and yeah.
Yeah, I think he brought the soulfulness of Arnold.
I like that.
Soulful dude.
That's what I meant to say.
Dry sense of humor.
What about you, Jamil?
Wait, I gotta say one thing on Toran they brought to the role. So, didn't Arnold live in a boarding house with all those animals?
Yeah.
Toran in real life had a pig, a spider monkey, and a chimp.
That's true. When I was born, I had my mom had a spider monkey, a chimp, and so I was born into this, and they were my brothers.
He needed to be Arnold, I think.
Were you really involved in the casting as well?
Oh yeah. I can remember the day, I remember casting both these guys, but I can remember the day that Jamil came and read for Gerald, and Mary, my boss, said, "Well, we found our Gerald," and that was that. It was the same with Franny too, who played Helga. As soon as we heard her, we were like, well, there you go. And
do you remember? I didn't audition for Arnold to begin with.
Right.
I auditioned for one of the other, reoccurring parts.
And it was after we'd made the pilot, because that's how things go for the boy actors. Their voices change fast. And the kid who played Arnold in the pilot, when he came in to do the first episode, it was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And it was over. And then we got Toran. So I remember Lane. So that was that.
Toran's good. I mean, that's fine.
Toran or Lane?
Oh, I said Toran too? Lane,
Yeah,
sorry.
I grew up as Toran, but as I got older,
It's Lane.
It's my middle name, so now I go by Lane, my first name. But
So it's really OG to call him Toran.
that's right.
My name is Sexy now, so that's all I go by.
And Jamil, what part of Gerald do you think is Jamil?
Definitely the flat top. When I auditioned for it, they had a little picture of what the character looked like. And I remember he had on 33, and at that age and time of my life, I really liked Scottie Pippen, who's 33 on the Bulls. So I already thought maybe he drew it for me. So, yeah. No, what else? The question was, what did I bring yeah. I would just say an authenticity, a heart, a spirit, and and also just you know, somebody who's cool, laid back.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
And do you remember when you would talk about Gerald in the first season when we would do promo stuff, and you'd go, "Hey, shout out, Maurice LaMarche, the voice of Big Bob is here." Come on, give it up for Big Bob Patak.
Maurice.
While we're on the subject, Danielle Judovits is here, who played Big Patty. Got Ben Diskin's here, who played my favorite of the Eugenes.
Look,
So anyway,
this is Big Patty right here.
There you go. Come on, sit down. Big Patty in the house. So great. Mo.
You want to come up? Come on up, Maurice.
Yeah. Mo's coming up. That's great.
And
I'm
did
really
Maurice
glad.
do Pinky in the Brain, right? Yeah.
We're having a little Hey Arnold
He
reunion.
did the Brain, yeah.
Hey, Mo.
Well, since we're on the, so the
You
question
know what's
was,
great about beepers? Nobody can track you on a beeper. That's why they're gonna make a comeback. And I'm opening a new beeper emporium with my daughters, Olga and the other one.
Don't ask me to do the voice.
so I was asking these guys if there's any parts of yourselves that are in your characters. I also see what you guys think as well.
Well, Big Bob, he's got a lot of bombast, and I can be rather bombastic. I don't have my head quite as far up my ass as he does, but I tend to kind of be a bit of a bulldog, kind of bowl over people in my life a little bit. If I'm not paying attention, if I'm not monitoring myself. But Bob's voice was actually based on the kindest guy I ever knew. I had a friend named Bruce McCullough, not the one from Kids in the Hall. He was this big roly-poly guy that played Santa Claus every year for kids. And he was just, oh gosh, Bruce McCullough was just this great guy. And if I came to him with a problem, he'd go, "Oh no, oh Maurice, that's terrible, oh no." You know, and he gave me all this like almost too much sympathy that I saw that my problem really wasn't all that big. But when I walked into this audition, I just had that do evil Bruce McCullough.
So then he became Big Bob Pataki, the beeper king, and you know, that's where he comes from. And my voice hasn't changed, so I can still play him.
That's right. Mo gets to be Big Bob forever. Big Bob for life.
Put that on the shirt.
And Patty's here.
Oh yeah. I think Patty, we all kind of she was just misunderstood, kind of, and I think we can probably all relate to that. I know I definitely did. I didn't actually audition for Patty. Did you know this, by the way?
We just gave you the part.
They just gave me the part. No. I auditioned for a different role. But no, I think Patty was, she was just kind of misunderstood, which obviously I can relate to that. I'm sure you guys all can. But.
Yeah, kind of a still waters run
Yeah.
deep. She was very soulful too. I mean, all these characters here, they all were pretty soulful. Even Bob. I mean, Bob was definitely, he could be redeemed, no problem.
Well, Bob, you know, the thing about Bob, and I mean, a lot of people, you know, got the kind of veiled message that Bob was living with an alcoholic. And if any of you have any alcoholism in your families, you know that what happens is as that sort of the balance of the family has to shift so that the other spouse has to become more controlling because he's trying to do the work of two people. So I kind of hooked into that with Bob too, is that he's got this wife that's drinking these smoothies and is kind of incapacitated all the time. So he's got to hold down. He's got to spin all the goddamn plates, you know. So that's kind of where some of Bob's angst comes from. But we had that lovely episode where he and Helga discovered they're really kind of alike, and you know, that was nice to get to do that kind of soft underbelly of Bob.
Yeah.
The show, Craig, I was always grateful to you because the show just had so many layers, and to work with such great writing that wasn't jokey writing. The humor came from the characters, and the pathos made its way into it no matter what, even though it was a cartoon show. So I consider Hey Arnold one of the most special shows I've ever worked on.
Thank you, Mo. You know, in terms of recording, because these actors will all back me up, we just decided to do it we would just bring everybody into a big room, and you could hang out in the green room if you wanted to, but generally people came in and just sat around that big room and waited until their page was up, and then they'd get up and stand at the mic and do their scene. And so we really workshopped the show together with everybody present and participating, and it really influenced the show. The writing of the show was influenced by these actors. And the Patakis in particular were whenever we had all 4 Patakis in the house, it was really fun. So some of you fans might be aware that there was a show called The Patakis that I pitched after Hey Arnold was done, and really hope to make. We can still make it. They're all still available, so, you know. Yeah, that's right. Everybody, and we can have, you know, once these two, their voices change, we just had them come back as adults, so they can play adults in the show.
Well, one thing about Hey Arnold is that it was, you know, although it was a cartoon, it was a children's show, it was very much like like a window into people's real lives, right? So it was like very, very real show, geared towards children so they could understand. Now, a lot of the actors here, the voices, you guys were very young when you made this show. Do you feel like, I'm gonna start with you, Jamil, do you feel like you learned anything? Like if you'd gone back and watched the show, do you think you learned anything from the show by being on the show?
I think it's actually, when I watch it now with my niece and nephew, I look at what they were doing and say, wow, they were ahead of their time. Because they were dealing with things without dealing with things and just allowing people to be people. From everybody from their teacher, right? I watch it now, I'm like, that's a gay man. And I had never seen, I mean, I don't know what he was, but, you know, and also...
When you were a kid, were you not aware?
No, I was not aware.
That's really cool. That's exactly how I wanted it to
I wasn't aware of that. And then also just, you know, we live in a world where we separate our old and our young. And they need each other. So even the fact that his grandparents were featured, like, you don't see that. And then even like as like a, you know, a black man, a person of color, then I was just like a kid, but now as like a fully formed adult, I look at that and go, wow, they really created this black character who's black, but also more than black, he's like, and he's not just the trope best friend. He's a fully, like what Maurice was saying, he's a fully formed human being who has a life that's as rich as all the other characters' rich lives, including Arnold and everyone else. So if anything, I look back and I'm really proud of the work. And it's one of those shows where it's like, yo, it actually means more even today than it did then, especially in the world we're currently living in. So thank you, Craig, and thank you, Joe, and thank you, Steve, and everybody, and Joey, and Brad.
Yeah, you know? Brad was our engineer, always there, and Joey Paul was our casting director who found all these brilliant people.
And Lynn Raines, the on-set teacher, because when you're a kid and you're on a TV show, there's a teacher there. So we had school. We would come there and do our homework until we got like 16 and I didn't do homework anymore.
What about you, Lynn? What do you think? I know you were on the show, but the first season, but what do you think, if you learned anything from that show, watching it back later on?
Yeah, I think Hey Arnold just taught everyone how to be better humans in general, you know. So.
Yeah, a lot of responsibility on Lane because Arnold was such a responsible guy. Did you feel like you had to kind of be a nicer person afterwards?
No, I think that's honestly one of the similarities between me and Arnold was we always wanted to do the right thing. You know.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention that about Patty. No, I remember we were in the middle of that, and then we brought up everybody else. But the thing about Gerald, if you asked him in the first season, he said, well, you know, Gerald's really loyal. And I know that was really coming from Jamil, because he just felt like that's how Gerald should be. I don't think I told you he has to be really loyal. But he was just like the best friend. He was a great best friend, and he said, you know, Gerald's really loyal. And so we just wrote him that way afterwards too, because we thought, yeah, of course he is.
Amen.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna tell that to the next woman I date. Jamil's really loyal, just like Gerald.
I got to jump. I've got photo ops, but it's been a pleasure to be up here with you guys. Thanks for inviting me up. And it's lovely to see all of you. Great to reunite with you guys.
So good to see you again, Mo. Always good to see Mo. We'll get sushi soon, okay?
All I remember when Maurice was on, we had a lot of great other actors on the show, and we were all very young, so we were working with a cast of like very seasoned voiceover actors. And I just remember, I loved that show, Pinky and the Brain. And it was a trip as a child to see someone live do the voice for you. Like Grandpa was Dan Castaneda, who was Homer.
Always great.
And just to watch this man, like, he would like do the voice for us. Anyway.
Yeah, it was really fun for these kids to be in this workshop environment with these amazing adults. And I think that the fact that they were always in the room, I thought, well, man, these guys are getting this first-class acting education.
Yeah.
Because they were so good.
And they didn't treat us like kids. They just treated us like other actors working with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing, you know, you guys had the movie in 2017, and it was meant to, you know, answer a lot of questions that were left over from the series and from the prior movie as well.
That was a good film. Shout out, hey Arnold, the feature film. I saw that in theaters.
Now, we got an answer about Arnold's dad, or Arnold's parents, right? And what was going on with them. Even though that was kind of like to be the bow wrap, if you were to bring it back, because I think this is a show that could come back at any point, any time, because it's
that's
so
the way I tried to
relatable.
leave it.
Where would you, if you could bring it back, where would you bring it back if you had it?
I really liked where we left it at the end of the Jungle movie. Did you all see the Jungle movie? Good. I hoped you would. And I was glad how well received it was. And I on purpose, which is how I always try to finish a show, when you don't get any more and you know you have to wait until something else happens. I always try to leave it where they were heading into 6th grade and they were gonna just keep on being those kids. And I wanted it to be where all of those relationships would continue. He'd finally gotten his parents back, and I wanted them to be kind of a little bit damaged goods, like they've been asleep for 10 years, and so they're a little weirded out. And I thought that would be funny, like they're who they are, except they were a little strange. And they have to kind of like refit into society. And I was really looking forward to, and you know, Grandma and Grandpa were still around. I would like them to live forever, so I didn't want them to die or anything. Just like I didn't want the parents to die. And so I kind of thought it would be a fun experiment. Mom and Dad are home and they're trying to carry on. They're trying to run the boarding house. I think they're trying to get Grandma and Grandpa to retire, and they won't. And wouldn't that be fun to see what happens? Wouldn't it be fun to see Helga kind of trying to love Arnold now in the open, but not really being able to do it because she's too stubborn. And she's got her issues too. And it would be fun to see Mom and Dad getting along with Big Bob and Miriam. I think that sounds like a fun Thanksgiving. That would be a great episode, a new Thanksgiving episode. The Patakis come to the boarding house and they all have a big weird Thanksgiving dinner. Doesn't that sound great? Anyway, there was a lot to do.
The kids can't have social media in this new one. No smartphones.
You gotta keep it at the time. Stay the same time.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
Was there always the idea that Arnold was going to be mostly raised by his grandparents, or where did that come from?
You mean from the start? Yeah, I thought it would be fun. The thing I pitched immediately once I'd made those Arnold shorts was the thing I pitched to Nickelodeon was Arnold lives in a boarding house with his crazy grandparents and a bunch of eccentric boarders, because it just sounded like fun. And I was very glib about the parents. I was like, oh, they're off doing something. They're like filmmakers or something. They're making documentaries in Africa or something. And I only brought them home because I realized after a while that was kind of mean to have them be neglectful. And so I had to have them be missing, and then I did all that stuff. And it actually was even sadder once I'd done that. So I really had to struggle with that. I'd really, you got to think ahead, and it's hard to plan ahead. You're just making the next episode and the next episode. And I realized that I had to turn them into his parents again. And I didn't, honestly, it took me a long time to figure out how to do it.
Now, Lane, where do you think Arnold would be today if he was growing up?
Right here on this stage.
He's like, I'm Arnold.
Oh, wow. Where would he be? That's a question I have not actually thought of, but I bet you have. I don't know. He's doing something to help the world, obviously.
Yeah, he's
but-
doing something to help people,
I
I
like
think.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind
Doctors
of
Without Borders.
do-gooders. Yeah, he's kind of a doctor without borders, probably. I also said he could be like an anthropologist or something, or an archaeologist, or they had the aptitude test.
So I was thinking
episode.
more like historian in some way with Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Those are all
about you,
good
Mr.
jobs. Good jobs for.
What about you, Mr. Jamil? What does he think?
He's a jazz player. Living between Perry and Brooklyn. Making music.
You thought about this.
Oh, I'm living it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, now we're coming up at the end of our panel, so I'm just kind of end on a happy note. So I'll start again with Jamil. We'll start with you again. What was one of your fondest memories while being on the show?
You know what? I would say it's a feeling. And that feeling is joy. Because every Thursday after school, from the time I was 13 until 19, my mother would pick me up, hand me the script, and we would drive an hour to Burbank, and I would read the script and then go to work. And I looked so forward to seeing everybody and then walking in the recording room, and like Craig said, it was like being on the schoolyard. We all were in there together, waiting for our turn to get up and do our lines with each other. And it wasn't, I was spoiled. I didn't know. I thought that's how all voiceovers work. Voiceovers, you know, you're recording in a room alone. You
Really
can take
often
A,
alone.
B, and C for each line. And
Which is really dumb.
so it was incredible. And I'll say this and then I'll be quiet. Was working with phenomenal young actors and didn't even see the weight and like how powerful all of these young performers were. And the love, and like if you have a lot of love for that show, like your love is going into a bowl that is large enough to receive all of you. Because we really put a lot of love in that, and if you grew up watching it, I want you to know that I grew up making it. And we all grew up together with this show here on.
Thanks, Jamil.
What about you, Lane?
I can't top what he just said. That's it. I mean, that's all of it. You know, it's just that family that we created there. That's what it was.
You, Mr. Greg?
I am not making this up. My favorite memories from the show was recording the actors. It really was always my favorite because it was a moment when it kind of brought the script to life, getting the actors to turn the written word into performances. And there's a lot to go after that. You know, I don't want to shortchange the drawing, the storyboarding, and all the art that got made that would be, and then the animation would come back, and then Jim Lang would put the music on it, and we'd mix it. There was a lot of really fun stuff to come. But recording the actors was always my favorite. I remember the opera, both y'all were there.
Figaro, Figaro, Figaro.
And when we did it, that was one of the best days of my life. And it was just because everybody was in, each kid would come and take another song and kind of everyone was kind of trying to top the one that came before him. And it just, we all were super high on how cool that was. And when we went out of there, we were really happy. I just remember being just like lit up for the rest of the night because it was so fun. So anyway, it was very joyous. And
Isn't that the episode that I sort of transitioned
Yeah.
out because I was doing the singing part
and Phil was playing the talking part.
Yes.
His voice had changed already, but he could still sing the songs.
Yeah.
Thank God. He was the better singer, that's a fact.
Can I just piggyback something, Craig? I really want to shout out Craig Bartlett because what you just spoke to in that, like, your favorite part was recording. Craig was like our uncle in that he made us all feel like the entire show was us recording. And he was, meanwhile, writing it with a team of writers, dealing with animators, dealing with the studio, and he protected us from all of that.
Yeah, they didn't have to do that part.
I never saw Craig snap except once. He said, "Stop talking." We had like, you know, we're a bunch of kids. But there was one moment where Craig was like, "You guys need to get in line and stop doing that." And I was like, "Oh, there he goes. He's a dad."
Do you
Yeah.
remember the first place that we worked at the first Horta? They had the Foley stage there,
Yeah. Oh,
and there
yeah.
was like a drawer full of like noisemakers
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, "Stop playing with that shit!
Yeah,
Get back
yeah.
to the mic."
Do you know what Foley is? Like, yeah. It was like, so it was like sand and like
That's right.
different textures. I mean, come on, you're a child? Come on.
Who could resist? I didn't blame them. Do you remember the main title when they're all marching?
Oh.
There were 4 of us on that sidewalk doing that. I was one of the guys going.
Oh, that's tight.
That was really fun.
That's so cool.
I didn't let them do it.
That's so cool. Well, I want to thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you. There's
you.
so many from the Hey Arnold cast
We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here
Yeah.
the next day.
Awesome.
Come by. If you can't get an autograph, just come by and say hello.
I know I can see from your faces
Please.
you were the ones that were there, but tell everybody it's way down at the end. That's where we
He's
are.
over there.
We'll be there tomorrow and Sunday.
Awesome. Thank you guys.